Good day, folks. Everything new under the sun. Well, this one is interesting. There's so many articles that I could talk about. Talk about the economy and cryptocurrencies and all the politics going on in the United States, etc. I try and pick ones that are diverse and kind of point to scriptures and that are more significant. Maybe articles that maybe some other people aren't having a look at and relating to Bible prophecy. Well, this is one of them. I think this is interesting. This is from zerohedge.com. Related to Putin and Syria, and I think this is possibly related to Ezekiel 38, so we'll have a look at it. And I was on mute there for a while. So yes, I was saying there. Let me back up a second here, because I didn't realize I was on mute. Putin orders withdrawal of Russian troops during surprise visit to Syria. And so I was mentioning that I wanted to pick articles that are a little bit different than maybe what some other people look at, and relate them to Bible prophecy and see if we can connect the dots here. So this one is significant about Russia pulling out of Syria, but we thought Russia was supposed to march down to Israel. Well, let's take a look at Ezekiel 38, I think, where we can make the connection here. This is from BibleGateway.com. Ezekiel 38 says, "And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And thus saith the Lord, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back." Now, what that means is Gog and Magog is heading away from God, and we know that Jerusalem is the city of God, and so you could make the speculation that you could suggest that they're moving away from Jerusalem, from Israel. That is God's land, and God has his name on Jerusalem. So they're turning away from God, and they're moving away, but God's going to put hooks in their jaws and turn them back. And I will turn thee back. So they're moving away, and God's going to turn them back and put hooks in thy jaws. So they're turning back, but it's not because they really want to. So to me, like the article is suggesting that it's saying that Putin is withdrawing them. So they don't want to get into huge conflict there, not at this point in time. And so the Lord turns them back, puts a hook in their jaw, forces them basically to turn around. And note that it says hooks, so there's multiple hooks with an S plural. That means there's maybe more than one thing that is calling them back to the region. "And I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet." And it goes on here. So let's take a look at this article and see, what is Putin doing here? Drawing a stark contrast between himself and his counterpart in the U.S. Russian President Vladimir Putin made a surprise appearance at Khmeimim Air Base in Syria, which has traditionally been used by the Russian Air Force on Monday morning, when he ordered the withdrawal of Russian troops from Syria. Now that the ISIS insurgency that once controlled roughly one-third of the country's land area has been effectively dismantled. So they're getting out of there. They think their job is done. But remember, Ezekiel 38 says hooks will be put in the jaw of Gog Magog, Russia, Iran, etc. Whatever the countries are that coordinate to make the Gog Magog a company and group. There will be hooks in the jaw that's going to turn them around. They're going back to their home, and it's going to turn them around, bring them back down to Israel. Because all the world hates Israel. All the big battles are going to take place in and around Israel, in the Middle East there. It is Jerusalem is the burdensome stone, and we see that right now with obviously Trump's declaration that U.S. recognizes Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Russian president was met by Syrian counterpart Bashar Assad and Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu at the air base where Russian forces fighting with Syrian army during the country's civil war were stationed at the base. Putin ordered the withdrawal of the troops to begin immediately, according to RT, Russia Today. I order the Defense Ministry and Chief of the General Staff to start with the withdrawal of Russian troops to the site of their permanent deployment. Putin speaking to a crowd of Russian soldiers. The Russian leader said that during the span of 2 years, Russian and Syrian militaries had defeated the most battle-hardened grouping of international terrorists, adding that he's decided a significant portion of Russian troop contingent should return to Russia. So Russia, if they are a leader in the Gog-Magog war and in the enemy, they are heading back to Russia. Now, like I say, Ezekiel 38 says a hook in the jaw is going to turn them back around. It's going to pull them, draw them back into the battle. Putin warned that if ISIS tries to rear their heads in Syria again, Russia will retaliate with a level of force they have never seen before. So a little bit of a threat there. Is ISIS going to show some force and stand up? And is that going to be a hook in the jaw? I think there's going to be something a little bit more than that. Putin was told about 70,000 square kilometers of Syrian territory had been liberated and 32,000 terrorists killed in the last 7 months of their operation. The president said that the Russian Reconciliation Center for Syria would continue its work and that Russia would continue to use Khmeimim base and the Syrian port of Tartus, which provides technical support for the Russian Navy. Putin is now headed to Cairo, where he is scheduled to meet with President al-Sisi. It's worth noting that the president's decision to withdraw Russian personnel stands in stark contrast to the U.S., which appears to be moving toward a semi-permanent air presence in the battle-torn Iran-allied country. So significant again. And Mattis speaking here, U.S. Defense Secretary Mattis told reporters at the Pentagon that the U.S. is preparing for a long-term military commitment to fight ISIS in Syria. So U.S. apparently is staying now with Trump in power. Mattis indicated that even should ISIS lose all of its territory, there would still be a dangerous insurgency that could morph into ISIS 2.0. And so the U.S. wants to stay there now. Interesting. The enemy hasn't declared that they're done with the area yet, so we'll keep fighting as long as they want to fight. Mattis said, we're not just going to walk away right now before the Geneva process has traction. So again, back to Ezekiel 38, there's hooks in the jaw that bring Russia back. And it doesn't suggest that Russia's totally going to disappear, but maybe they will do that. All it says basically is that there will be hooks in the jaw put in Gog-Magog, the leaders, the force from the north, etc., which is going to turn them back. And not just one hook, multiple hooks, because hooks is plural, so at least two, maybe different things. Maybe ISIS and maybe the specter of oil in Israel. Israel has massive oil and gas fields, which Russia is interested in. So will there be a significant turn back? Will they turn back quickly, Russia? And why will they turn back? Those are the questions right now. But right now it looks like they're turning and heading towards Russia again. But Ezekiel 38 states that there will be a hook put in the jaw, which will turn them back. So the next step is we'll be watching for the hooks in the jaw, which is going to bring them back, turn them around, and bring them back into Syria, and more significantly on Israel. And maybe the fact that U.S. is staying there now will actually be one of the reasons they may decide to come back and station troops to, quote, balance the power, unquote, as they might think is necessary and reasonable in Syria. And we have yet to see the fate of Bashar Assad as well. He is still in power, but only hanging by a few threads, supported by Russia and supported by Iran. And left in Syria is the U.S. military now and the Iranian military with bases on the ground in the Golan Heights. And so any one of these could spark another war. And so I think now that ISIS is mostly gone, we're going to see a flare-up between the major nations that are stationed there with troops. So we'll continue watching that and see how it goes. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys in the next video.